Welcome to Islamic Religious Studies for JSS 3. Today we study the spread of Islam in West Africa, with particular focus on Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio and his reforms. The spread of Islam in West Africa. Islam came to West Africa primarily through the trans-Saharan trade routes from the 8th century CE onwards. Arab and Berber Muslim merchants crossed the Sahara Desert to trade in gold, salt, and kola nuts. They brought Islam with them. By the 11th century, many West African rulers had converted to Islam, including the kings of the Mali Empire, whose most famous ruler was Mansour Musa, who performed Hajj in 1324 to 1325 CE with enormous wealth, and the Songhai Empire. By the 14th to 15th centuries, Islam was well established in the Hausa states of northern Nigeria, including Kano, Katsina, Zaria, Daura, and others. However, Islamic practice in these states had become mixed with traditional practices, a form of syncretism that many reformers found unacceptable. Who was Usman Dan Fodio? Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio, also spelled Othman ibn Fudi, was born in 1754 CE in Gobe, in present-day northwestern Nigeria. He was a scholar, teacher, poet, and Islamic reformer of the Fulani or Fub people. He studied Islamic sciences, Quran, Hadith, Fiqh, Arabic literature, under various scholars, including his father and Sheikh Jibril ibn Umar. He became a renowned teacher and scholar, and his students included people from across the Hausa states. Why Dan Fodio launched his jihad? Dan Fodio was deeply troubled by 1. Corruption of Islamic practice. The ruling Hausa kings, Sarakuna, practiced a mixture of Islam and traditional religion, including making offerings to spirits, worshipping trees and rivers, and other practices contrary to Tawhid or monotheism. 2. Oppression of the poor. The Hausa ruling class heavily taxed and oppressed the common people and the Fulani, who were largely Muslim pastoralists. 3. Taxation of Muslims. Taxes were levied on Muslim teachers and scholars. 4. Oppression of Muslims. Muslim communities were restricted and persecuted. The Jihad, Holy War, 1804. In 1804 CE, Dan Fodio was forced out of Gobe by the king, Yunfo, formerly his own student. This hijrah, migration, echoing the Prophet's migration from Mecca to Medina, became the starting point of his jihad. The jihad spread rapidly across the Hausa states. Within a few years, the old Hausa kingdoms were overthrown and replaced by emirates, each headed by an emir appointed by Dan Fodio. By 1808 to 1812, the major Hausa cities, Kano, Zaria, Katsina, had all fallen. The Sokoto Caliphate. The result of Dan Fodio's jihad was the establishment of the Sokoto Caliphate, Sokoto Empire, with its capital at Sokoto. Dan Fodio became the Sultan of Sokoto. The Sokoto Caliphate was one of the largest states in Africa at the time. Dan Fodio himself retired from active rule and devoted himself to writing and teaching. His son Muhammad Bello and his brother Abdullahi managed the caliphate. Dan Fodio wrote over 500 works in Arabic and Fufuda on Islamic theology, jurisprudence, governance, and poetry. Dan Fodio's legacy. Unification of northern Nigeria under Islamic governance. Spread of Islamic education, building mosques, schools, and training scholars. Promotion of women's education. Dan Fodio is known for encouraging the education of women and girls. His daughter Nana Asmayu was a great scholar and poet who established an education system for women. Reform of corrupt practices. Foundation for the emirate system which continues in northern Nigeria today. His work influenced the larger reformist movement across West Africa, including the Tukola Empire and Futa Jalla. Dan Fodio died in 1817 CE. His legacy continues to shape Islamic life and governance in northern Nigeria to this day. Remember, Islam came to West Africa primarily through trans-Saharan trade routes from 8th century CE onwards. Arab plus Berber Muslim merchants crossed Sahara Desert to trade in gold plus salt plus kola nuts plus brought Islam with them. By 11th century many West African rulers converted to Islam equals kings of Mali Empire. Most famous ruler Mansour Musa who performed Hajj in 1324 to 1325 CE with enormous wealth. Plus Songhai Empire. By 14th to 15th centuries, Islam was well established in Hausa states of northern Nigeria. Islamic practice had become mixed with traditional practices equals syncretism. Who was Usman Dan Fodio? Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio, also spelled Uthman ibn Fudi, born in 1754 CE in Gobe equals present-day northwestern Nigeria, scholar plus teacher plus poet plus Islamic reformer of the Fulani/Fu people, studied Islamic sciences equals Quran plus Hadith plus Fiqh plus Arabic literature, became renowned teacher plus scholar. Why Dan Fodio launched his jihad? Corruption of Islamic practice. Ruling Hausa kings/Sarakuna practiced mixture of Islam plus traditional religion equals making offerings to spirits plus worshipping trees plus rivers plus other practices contrary to Tawhid/monotheism. Plus oppression of the poor. Hausa ruling class heavily taxed plus oppressed common people plus the Fulani. Plus taxation of Muslims. Taxes levied on Muslim teachers plus scholars. Plus oppression of Muslims. Muslim communities restricted plus persecuted. Jihad/Holy War 1804. In 1804 CE, Dan Fodio was forced out of Gobe by King Yufo equals his own former student. Hijrah/migration equals echoing Prophet's migration from Mecca to Medina equals starting point of his jihad. Jihad spread rapidly across Hausa states. Within few years, old Hausa kingdoms overthrown plus replaced by emirates equals each headed by an Amir appointed by Dan Fodio. By 1808 to 1812, major Hausa cities equals Kano plus Zaria plus Katsina all fallen. The Sokoto Caliphate. Result of Dan Fodio's jihad equals establishment of Sokoto Caliphate/Sokoto Empire with capital at Sokoto. Dan Fodio became Sultan of Sokoto, one of largest states in Africa at the time. Dan Fodio retired from active rule plus devoted himself to writing plus teaching. His son Muhammad Bello plus brother Abdullahi managed the caliphate. Dan Fodio wrote over 500 works in Arabic plus Fufuda on Islamic theology plus jurisprudence plus governance plus poetry. Dan Fodio's legacy: unification of northern Nigeria under Islamic governance plus spread of Islamic education equals building mosques plus schools plus training scholars plus women's education. Dan Fodio encouraged education of women plus girls. Daughter Nana Asmau was great scholar plus poet who established education system for women. Plus reform of corrupt practices plus foundation for emirate system which continues in northern Nigeria today. Dan Fodio died in 1817 CE. Thank you for studying Islamic Religious Studies with us today.